tip.
Good afternoon. It is April 8th, 2025. You're listening to a little of column A, little of column B, hosted by Will Leminos and co-hosted by Zach Bishop. How are you doing today, buddy? Should I check on you? There's a lot of people worried.
What is going on, Will?
I know what's going on.
What is
you already
going
know
on?
what's going on. What are we doing? What's going on?
Disaster in San Antonio. That is what's going on. I was there. I was in person. Got there Thursday night. Friday's a fun day. Saturday's more of a nervous day going in. And then just absolute disaster. I don't think I've been less excited to watch a basketball game come last night. And left first thing this morning, first thing smoking out of San Antonio so I could get back here so I give the people what they want, give them the boots on the ground, give them all the in-person, all the sadness, all of that. I think anybody else would have delayed. The only reason we didn't do the podcast yesterday was because that would have been before the championship. Didn't make sense, but made it home on time. Did the best I could, but I had a lot of time to think about it, a lot of time to mope. I think traveling home and finally getting home and just you're putting distance helps, but I was crunching the old numbers. I think that is the worst sports loss. I know Russillo, it's always, of course, the most latest has to be the worst, but I've had a couple of rough ones recently that weren't nearly as bad as this one, and then I was even going back and I was trying to, think up the other worst ones. It's not the most fun productive thing, but you're on a flight and trying to think it through. I'm thinking Game 7 versus the Lakers 2010. I'm thinking both Giants losses. Is there any other loss? We kind of have some teams that overlap that, something I might be missing.
For your life, maybe not. I mean, Atlanta, the 28-3, that hurts.
Oh, no, I was on the winning side of that. That was one of the greatest days ever.
But if you're on the other side, that's how bad this was, though. All right.
Hold on. It's only Tuesday. It hasn't even been a week yet. I'm not ready to commiserate with other fan bases. This is about me. This is about me trying to get my act, get me back on the horse, get back straight. All whatever catchphrase you want to use here.
All right, we are going to get to Florida and congratulate them and talk about the Houston game because there's a lot to go down there. We're going to do a whole 2-minute report. But you were there. You watched the games. You were there in person. If there was a way to just blank all of the team names in your mind of just somehow saying this was Team A, this was Team B, this was Team C, and this was Team D, is there any way you could walk away from this weekend thinking like that was the greatest Final Four of all time?
No.
There's no way. Like the games were good. The games were great. I mean, they didn't.
No,
right, they were terribly punishing for you. But
no, not even that. I would say the games were compelling. But that game last night, I mean, that was a rock fight. It wasn't even just like hey, the teams are playing really good defense, so the shots aren't falling. It was like off the backboard kind of shots. I mean, even one of Houston's threes, I think it was in the first half, was you banked it in, which was fine in pickup. So for sure, these were compelling. I'm able to take a step back for compelling, but the execution I don't think was there, and I don't think that the offense was very good, and you can kind of see that reflected in the scores.
What do you think each of these teams did well? Because I was most impressed with Florida's passing. I thought they did a good job of getting their big men the ball early, and their big men did a good job of getting down into the paint early. I think they got some really easy basket, and it's in a game where no baskets were very easy. What did you think either of these teams did well?
Dunking, and Houston defending the rim in that, especially that first flurry, where that seemed to be the only thing that worked on offense. Walter Clayton Jr., after scoring 30 plus in the Elite Eight and in the Final Four game, goes over or doesn't score in the first half and really doesn't score and doesn't have much of an offensive impact on this game. Just the guards, and Houston pretty much were known, pests, coming into it, but just really surprised how they were only down 3 at the half with him having 0 points. But, there are other guys that kind of stepped up, as well as there weren't a lot of points scored in that game. So, we was able to kind of cover that up.
I still thought these teams were impressive despite the scoring not being great. Like the Houston out of bounds plays, the X's and O's of that was like a superpower. It felt like they had something out of it. Florida had some stuff too, but I just don't think you see that all the time in college basketball. It seemed like both these teams were not only prepared, but kind of had like a lot of plays in the playbook left that we still hadn't seen. I mean, we're in the championship game at this point. Houston's already run how many of these inbound plays, and it just felt like, we'll just do the next one to get a guy 3 in the corner. Boom, here we go again.
I just think there was not a lot of to me in person. It was ugly basketball. I haven't checked the the percentages to see if that tracks, but I mean they didn't score 3-pointer either team for a good chunk of the first half. It was refed bizarrely. One of those things that they don't obviously mention that in the in the stadium, but just I'm watching basketball. I'm focused. And in the first half, I believe there were 5 total fouls, and then Florida had 6 fouls before the 16-minute the under 16 timeout. So it just I even made a comment to my brother at halftime saying this half went by really fast. There weren't very many free throws. There weren't very many stoppages, and then that second half, it didn't take twice as long, but it definitely almost felt that way.
The refs just stopped messing around with the entire second half. So you have that span that you just mentioned with Florida. There's the bench technical for Florida, which is something I'm still
Yeah,
not entirely sure who was responsible of, and it was just like everybody. It was like, all right, well, what is that worth?
yeah. Like you could see like the whole team like jumped up. It seemed like the assistant was extra demonstrative, but I don't know if something was said. I mean, that place was loud. This is my third Final Four, and nothing is going to beat the peak pop of Villanova hitting a buzzer beater in a championship game. But these 4 teams, both in the Final Four and then in the in the championship, I mean, the place was full. It was full with Florida fans. It was full with Houston fans, and both sides going back and forth. They had their chance. So when that happened, I was sitting in the Florida section, and they were going nuts, and they were standing up. So sometimes it was kind of hard to see their reaction, or even hear. There was a technical. You saw that there was a foul, and then you could see like by the movement, and I think most of the time I just had to look at see what the ref was doing the hand signals to get an idea, because as you might imagine, there are some fans that don't really know basketball as well as we do, that are a little crazy.
Well, it was happening fast. I mean, look, so you have the foul segment you just had there. We have the weird bench technical. Houston has 3 fouls in 9 seconds at one point. Like what
It
is
was
that?
one
When does that
possession.
happen?
And then I mean, on the good side, there was one where what was it, the block into the 3 into the alley oop. I might have like that order wrong for Houston, and then I think they get up, and then the second half when Florida makes their run, I think they got maybe it wasn't 3 straight possessions, but it sure felt like it was almost consecutive possessions got and ones, and just Houston just like not getting out of their own way. It felt like sometimes like they weren't they were fouls where you either have to commit the foul or you have to just let them go and score, and just got caught in the middle, or just weren't thinking, or just trying to be too tough, or just could not make the adjustment to the second half from the first half.
I see. The funny thing is Houston, at least from the TV, was in control of this game for the entire time. Their defense was doing a whole bunch of things on defense, having the big men guessing at the free throw line, not knowing if they were going to get doubled, not knowing if the passing lane was going to be open to the kick out. Like, I feel like they did a really good job of scheming up against whatever Florida was trying to do in the half court offense. But
Not only that, but they almost had it's similar to your guys' Michigan State offense of, all right, we know we're not good at shooting, so when the ball goes up, everybody just be ready. And they abused Florida to start off. I think it was like midway through the first half, they had gotten something like 8 more shots than Florida. It's just like, we know we don't have this percentage thing in our favor, so we're just going to go for volume, and hopefully we can just overwhelm them.
the tip outs on the offensive boards is just the amount of possessions that they were able to save. I mean, think if they don't get all those possessions, they needed every single one of those.
They needed all of them,
and they still lost. But let's get into the painful part. This isn't going to be great, but the final 2 minutes here, if you're Houston,
Eesh.
you don't have a makeable shot attempt in this entire portion of all of this. This is just one bad possession after another.
It's not even the not making the shot. It's that this game ended on a loose, like the ball loose on the floor. Just like that. That's where it's like I thought the whole game was ugly, and then it was like the exclamation point of 2 possessions, chances to win, tie the game, be in the mix, and you're not even close to getting a shot off. Like you're doing like dribble off your foot sort of stuff. Just I think that really hurts. Obviously Houston, but just kind of hurts. Hey, this is a championship game, and a team can't even get a shot off.
The dribbling off of their foot and looking for a foul constantly. The one thing I'll say about all of their possessions is I kind of walked away from it as they were like, was the score like swapped around in their minds, because the shots they were taking was as if they were down 10 with 10 seconds left and we're just going to launch, like, just complete panic.
This is one of the problems too with this style. Virginia has run into this before. I think it was the Syracuse, where it's just like, I think it was in 2016, where like Syracuse just like got them sped up, and then they like didn't know what to do. So like for example, and we get into it as we go like beat by beat, but I believe there was a timeout. There were 45 seconds left, and that's when Houston was down 1. And it's like, you have a 2-for-1 opportunity here. I get you don't always do that in college. The college players aren't as good as the NBA players. Executing it's more difficult. But that seemed like a situation of, okay, we need to score quick. But Houston's whole thing is, well, we're not going to score quick. We're going to try to grind this down, do as few possessions as possible. And it burned them. They didn't have something fast. They had no sense of urgency when they really needed it. And they still had an opportunity even after that, which I think a lot of times you're not going to get that opportunity, especially if Florida, makes their free throws. They kind of left the door open a little bit.
Florida did do some things right. I don't want to take away all the credit from them, but the Houston thing, you just wish they'd had executed so well every single game, and really every possession up to these last 2 minutes. I don't think did they have as many bad plays in these last 2 minutes as they did all tournament? Like, I don't think so. This team was so prepared and felt like they knew what they were doing every step of the way, regardless of the score or any situation. They looked comfortable. And then these last 2 minutes where they are still in control of this game, they're just 2 minutes away from a national championship. Nothing worked.
It just couldn't get it done. Florida, ratcheted up their defense, and we kind of said like, oh, it's just a dribble off a foot, but I mean, Walter Clayton was forcing that issue, and so they, like you said, like, don't want to just make it all like Houston just made mistakes, but I mean, even on that last possession where the guy goes to shoot, realizes he's in trouble, and then kind of goes to try to do the dribble thing, which he had done that the previous game, and that time he grabbed it, which everybody knows, as soon as you lift off your feet, you can't dribble. So he kind of tried to do a box out thing, but it's like, man, they're just really rough execution.
It really felt like nobody wanted to take the shots, and then when somebody had to take the shots, I mean, how many double pump fakes do we have here? All right, so there's like a double pump layup that they miss. There's the end of the last possession, that I'm going to call that a double pump, where he just drops the ball in the middle.
He just drops it to try to, because he realized Florida had some blocks, and in that situation, you're almost better off getting blocked. Go up, get blocked, do the review. You keep the ball. You got time. You get a timeout. Yeah, because I think it was at that 45 that Houston took their last timeout, and I thought, this seems a little bit early. I know this is important, but if there's any sort of, hey, we can't get the ball in if Florida pressures, or hey, the offense is stalling, we want to use a timeout. It's just like, no, you're done.
So do you think he would have been better off just traveling and turning over the ball? They set up the defense. They can foul. What are they? They're only down 2. You at least extend the game. Versus this loose ball was the saddest loose ball in the world. Nobody's near it, and who knows what's happening anyways. Everyone's waiting for a whistle, and the clock is just going, and then the game's over by the time anyone realizes they got to go get this thing.
It's just over. Yeah, I do. There's no way in that spot like to practice or to train for that, but easily like looking back, and even if you do that, it increases your odds, but slightly. You go from maybe 1% to 2%. So like, it doesn't super change things, but then, because I'm thinking, all right, so he realizes it, he takes the travel. There's maybe 6-8 seconds left somewhere, in that ballpark. And then, all right, Florida has to pass the ball in. Maybe you can get a steal or something. Most likely they pass the ball in, you foul. If they make 2, 4, you're out of luck, but maybe they only make 3, then you at least have a chance.
Yeah. No, it's hard. All right, let's give some credit to Florida. They won the SEC. They won the championship. Are we convinced? Did the best team win?
I don't think so, but I'm a little biased.
That's fair. We're gonna get to that next. A shout out to the youngest
If,
coach.
if you go off of the metrics, but I mean that's what I say. These games aren't played on paper. They're played on the court, and so Florida for sure earned this. I think Auburn kind of flamed out a little bit at the end of the year. I think the Broom injuries, made it tougher. But I mean, Florida had a great year. Number one seed, like you said, won the SEC. They were down double digits in I think the championship, the Final Four, and the Elite Eight, and to have the fortitude to not get too out of sorts. I mean that for sure. That there's credit has to be there. I mean it's amazing. They win this game. They only led for I think it was 63 seconds, but you only need a lead for the last when the clock hits zero. The rest of it is just it's nice, but yeah, just to kind of continue. And when they in that second half they went down, and then even once they made the comeback, they were always just below or maybe tie, but Houston kind of wasn't at arm length, because arm length, it's a little a little farther away. I don't even know exactly what the term would be, but just always kind of kept that lead. Just there would always be something to kind of just, all right, it's still one possession, we're still leading, still leading, still leading. But yeah, no, definitely congrats to Florida. They definitely for both games had their fans. They had their cheers. They were definitely loud at the games. Definitely saw a lot of the fans walking around San Antonio.
I thought it was an
Saw
exciting
Al
run.
saw Al at the game with his son. I think it's safe to say he's not playing tonight for the Celtics.
I good for Al. I'm happy for that's of all the
Al
Gators.
got really. I mean, like I said, I was in the Florida section, so everything my way was biased Florida. But to get Al on the jumbotron was fun, because I think that was the only time. It's not the only time I clapped, but that was the most enthusiastically I clapped. The rest of the stuff was much more reactions to big blocks or to dunks. So it wasn't so much clapping as it was just like oohing and eyeing.
It was a fun game. I enjoyed it. I would have loved to have had Michigan State in there, but I don't think we belonged with any of the teams that were left. And I'm all right with the results. There's definitely a lot of storylines and a lot of what ifs that more than usual. And we're going to talk about the Duke game next. But I just want to give a team credit for all the comebacks, and the comebacks weren't all the same. The other Walter Clayton desperation threes comeback was completely different than
Oh,
Walter
yep.
Clayton hasn't even scored, and maybe he's going to get 5 assists by the end of the second half here is the best we could hope for. And we're going to lock in our defense and hope that Houston makes mistakes and just gives us a chance. Was very different than what they'd done all those other previous comebacks.
Fair. Yep.
All right, time for the hard part here, buddy. We're going to talk about how Houston got to the finals, and it is going to be Houston versus Duke. Where do you want to begin with this? Because we could just jump right into the 2 minutes. We can.
It's just it's an all-time collapse. I believe it was up double digits, maybe just short of the 8 timeout. I think it was like 8 points with under the 4, and then it was 6 with about 30 seconds to go. And you and I we watch enough basketball, so like, hey, some crazy stuff can happen. But when you're up 6 with 30 seconds to go in a college game, it's all right. Especially a team like Duke has had success all year, has the players. You figure, okay, just got to pass the ball in, get fouled, go to the line, make your free throws. This thing's over. And especially with 30 seconds to go, we had been in control pretty much that whole game. And it's like, with 6 points, like, so even some weird stuff can happen, and we should still be fine. So it's like you start thinking, or at least I started thinking, before the game, it's like, all right, we were favored in this game, but we're gonna have to show up. Houston is is for real. If they try to turn this into into a football game, that can always just can confuse a young team like ours. But hopefully, with some of the the older guys with the transfer portal, be a little different. But then it's just like, all right, no, we're winning this game. This is set. And just you start thinking, it's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Now, Sunday is just going to be a hangout day, celebrating, talking to other Duke fans, getting going. And then it's just like every possible bad thing that could happen happened. And just not one good thing happened. Like, it's almost like the reverse of what you just mentioned with Florida, looking back and being like, we were down in that game, and we came back, and then the next one, just all of it. It's the reverse. It's the letting up the offensive dunk. It was the not being able to pass the ball in, the weird not realizing that if you hit the ball out of a guy's hands when he's still out of bounds trying to pass it in, it's just one technical, and you still keep the ball, but it's only one, not two. And then even after there's been the complete collapse, I thought the foul, just like everybody else in the section I was sitting in, thought the foul that they called on Coop was ticky tack. But it's like, okay, but then that guy, he steps up the line. He was a good free throw shooter. He knocks down both free throws. And even there, I think there was 16 seconds left. It's like, okay, even like, you've collapsed, you've lost the lead, you still have a chance to score. Can't get that done. All right, well, foul. They make two more. Still have time with a chance for a three. I mean, it gets more desperate. But I don't have the timing on it. But it has to be similar to the Florida game of.
Let me go through this. What are you doing?
Duke must have been leading for 38 minutes. I don't know, probably more.
Are you done? Jesus. 2:10. You guys are up 55 or 64-55. You give up a layup. The next possession, you walking up the court. I don't know. The guy dribbles it off his knee. It was kind of a travel for Proctor. This is not a great last 2 minutes for Proctor. Not great. But
No.
you said some things like didn't go your way. Like everything went against it. There are certain things Houston wishes that they could have done over again here too. Like you would get a complete break off the guy hitting it off the inbound. That's not everything went wrong for you. That's something that benefited you drastically. Like you got. Everything did go wrong, but you did get a couple of breaks here. I mean, that technical is huge for you. You get a whole point out of that. You don't think that was beneficial?
Well, what I mean is the call on Coop, that's much closer to 50-50. If you knock the ball out of a guy's hands, he's out of bounds. I mean that's clearly illegal. They do the review, and I guess you could say it was to our advantage as like a play, but it wasn't like it was a 50-50 call that went our way. It's just like, well, that was clearly a technical.
I just if you're a team that's struggling to get the ball in and the guy hits the ball before you get to inbound, that's such a relief. That's a huge break. I just think that was a massive break for you guys. I also just think you didn't do yourself any favors too, where they had trapped Cooper a couple times. And then why doesn't Coop get the ball after that? It's like he would get the ball in and then pass to someone else, and then they'd foul somebody else.
See, I've heard this too, and I get where Proctor was coming from of, hey, I'm a junior, I got this, which turned out did not got this. But everyone's been talking about getting it back to Coop. Coop's going to the NBA. He's an okay free throw shooter. Get the ball to Con.
Yeah,
we saw that. What was it in the? We've seen this all year. You get him the ball, and he is as close to automatic as you can get. That's who I wanted to have the ball. That's who I wanted to have them foul.
I don't know. They did accidentally foul Cooper in the corner when they probably shouldn't have done that. That was another thing that was a benefit to you. They fouled Cooper on that inbound. They didn't have to. They had him trapped. Why did they foul? They could have at least waited to see what happens after that. And so, like, I just think Houston made some mistakes here too.
I think that stuff with Houston is just like being a tough physical team. It just leads to that sort of thing.
1:14 left, 67-61. Houston chooses not to foul. Again, this is like mind-blowing of like, we're just going to let it go. We're going to trust all of the kids on the floor. I don't think any other coach generally would ever do this. Is that like fair to say? There's a minute left. We're just not going to foul. We're going to let Duke essentially melt down, which is such a risk because why would we think that was going to happen? What, based on Duke's history over the last year, gives us think like this is about to happen and we're just going to let it happen? That just seems insane to me to not say, no, we're going to foul whoever it is, anyone but Con, and just see if the free throw contest can go on. And instead, Con gets blocked on a layup attempt because the possession just goes on and on and on, where I think Duke is like amazed that nobody is shocked. Coop, I think, is staying off to the side because, again, I think he's doing what you think, where Con wants to get the free throws. Why do I need to go get the ball if Con wants to shoot the free throws? So Coop's not even involved on this play. Is this, I can't tell if this is genius or just craziness that worked for Houston's benefit.
I don't know.
But
I think with, because at this point it's still 6, right?
67-61. Yeah.
67-61. No, so 6 points at 1. Yeah, I don't think you foul quite yet. It's not like Houston puts up a lot of threes, but their 3-point percentage was like one of the top in the country. So I think for them, they thought, okay, we don't need to hit a bunch of threes. We just need to hit one. So yeah, if we can get a stop and they were comfortable getting their stops, I think that would have been early for them to foul, especially knowing that they could kind of ratchet up the physicalness even more.
Well, Con misses the layup. Houston goes down. It's the sharp three, of which I want to talk about that. Why did Flag double on this weird trap? I don't know why he falls for a pump fake as if there's no reason to play defense at all, because he does one pump fake sharp, and then Flag goes flying into the sideline, and then he just shoots the three, and now Houston's down 3. I feel like Flag just playing defense straight up might even get a stop there, let alone not have to worry about fouling. Like I don't remember him fouling a 3-point shooter. Why are we acting like this is such a vulnerability right now that he can't even play defense anymore? Like, I didn't like that. I felt like he let up a little bit.
He's 18 years old, and so you're going to complain that he bit on a 3-pointer that was probably late in the shot clock?
No, I just felt like he was playing
the effort's there, and yeah, if he was more mature, but I don't
think it's maturity.
That's nitpicky.
I don't think it's maturity. I think this is similar to what we were talking last week of how when teams are up, they're so scared of fouling. I think these coaches have scolded them so much that there's a weird intensity when you're winning in a game where it's like, I need to get a stop. I need to play defense. I need to still be in the game, but I'm playing a little backed off because I'm terrified of a foul, of just bailing out the other team. But I think they bailed him off by backing off. I don't think they had any chance of getting that 3 off if Coop just stays there. Like, what are they going to do? He's going to have to go around him. Instead, he just leaps over, does this huge contest as if there's no time left in the shot clock. And I just think Coop straight up gets a stop there, don't you?
I'm always confident in Coop. I mean, that's how we were so successful against Alabama, was just, you just play it straight up. You're taller than everyone else out there, so you have the length advantage. And then if you get past, you got big men in the in the paint, so you got to figure it out from there.
All right, 32.4 left. Houston calls timeout. It's Duke ball at the baseline. They're unable to get it in. It's deflected and it comes back out. It's still Duke ball, but they no longer can run the baseline. And the very next possession is just a terrible inbound. Coop's got the position as if he's posting up, but the guy doesn't throw the ball high enough, and it gets deflected. Houston steals it, runs to the 3-point line. It's missed, and then it's a massive putback dunk, as you mentioned earlier. Yeah. There's so many things that you wish you could do over again here, whether it's just throw that ball a little bit higher in inbound, maybe run a better inbound play. But then even after it happens, it's like, guys, wake up. Like, they got the ball. The guy's running the 3-point line, and they're just in the paint. They're up 3. They know the other team's going to go for 3.
It was a scatter.
But then scattered. By the time they figured out that they run to the 3, they forget the guy in the offensive rebound. It's just like they're a complete step behind on everything in this entire play here. And it just burns them and burns them and burns them onto the next thing. That's got to hurt the most, of like, that team knows how to do everything correctly, and they kind of did. They just did it step behind. It's got to suck, because the talent was out there. This team was obviously smart enough to close this out. I don't think this was just complete stupidity. It's just bad luck is the only way to really define it, of the amount of things that had to go wrong to even make that possible. But
over and over and over again.
Even then now, so now it felt like that Houston 3 went in. Like, even when I watched it again, I was like, oh, that went in, right? Like, they should be tied immediately. And it's like, no, he missed that 3. It's a putback dunk. It's 66-67. There's 25.5 seconds left here. Duke still has the ball.
You're up 1.
Duke still has the ball.
They're going to have to foul you.
You should still feel like you're in possession here. Like, you have a chance to win the game.
It's like, all right, this isn't good. There's a collapse happening here, but we could still like pull out of this crash. We're headed down, but still up 1 with the ball under 30. It's like, okay, you can like run around. They're going to have to foul you, put you to the line, and then it's like, okay, make your free throws. And we were a pretty good free throw shooting team all year.
Con gets trapped on the inbound.
12th in the country at free throws.
Again, Houston chooses not to foul, which is probably smart, as you had already mentioned. Con's 92, 91
90, yeah, 91.
91 point something percent from the line.
Yeah, between 91 and 92.
He gets trapped.
With volume.
He gets trapped. They don't foul. They pass the ball to an open Proctor. It's the right play. No criticism till now, but now I kind of wish just Coop had went, he's right there. just let me grab it. Just let me touch this ball. I haven't touched the ball in a whole minute right now. We're in complete panic. I just wish Coop had touched the ball right there, and instead Proctor gets it. And it only looks bad now knowing the result that he's going to miss the 1-on-1. If Proctor makes this, perhaps we look at this differently. But I just he missed it, and Coop could have easily gotten the ball and could have gotten fouled right there. I don't know. Would you have liked
I think
Proctor
he
to
did get
pass that?
fouled.
Do you wish Proctor gave it to Cooper right there? Then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the very least, it extends the time longer, and Coop is better free throw shooter than Proctor is. But like I said before, I could see, even if you're not like the best free throw shooter, like these guys, it's like instilled in you, like, well, you have to have the confidence. You don't want to like get the ball, have to be like a hot potato. It's like, no, I want this responsibility. Give me the ball. This is what I've been like practicing for. This is why I came from Australia. Like, I'm going to make these shots right now. Like,
All right.
this is gonna be fine.
He misses the 1-on-1. I wish someone else shot it. Maybe you play this over again, and then you guys go up 2, maybe even 3 if you make both of them. And this is, again, a completely different game. He misses it, and this is where I'm going to let you cook, because this is probably the worst finale and ending of such an awesome game, where Coop is then called for a foul on the missed free throw on kind of an over back, maybe a little bit of like an elbow hook thing, but it's really, if you've watched any free throw that had been shot over the last 2 minutes already, was no different, was not
It
an
just seemed
egregious
like
contact.
after
Wasn't
all the physical double teams that it's like, well, now this is what gets called. Just it didn't seem like it fit the pattern of what was happening.
it wasn't even an advantage. Like what did he gain out of that was so life threatening that they had to blow the whistle? Like do you think
Yeah, exactly.
so that hurts. All right. I've been hard on Duke. We have made you go through this play by play. It's got to be brutal of just reliving it all. But this is the only thing that I don't like out of all of this. This didn't feel good. And I don't think Houston would have loved it anyways. Houston's a tough team. They don't want to win like that. If you imagine it was the other way around, Houston been like, I've been all over these guys the entire game. That's the softest call you're going to give all day. Like that's just it's not the way the game is called the whole game. So that's hard. But again, there's still things that Houston has to do to kind of close this out right now, right? So they got to make their free throws, and Duke's still going to get the ball back and have a chance. So we fast forward now where it's 68-67, Houston's 19.6 left, Duke ball, and they inbound it, they get over half court, and they call timeout. So now there's 17.2 left. That I don't know if that was the smartest way to use the timeout, or do you think you liked advancing it and then calling it a timeout there to reset a half court play?
That's not unusual. I think usually it's with less time on the on the clock, but I can't nitpick that one too much.
It's just more, I think, looking farther down this, the play you ended up running was just, we're going to get Cooper the ball, which was fine. And he gets a good shot. I don't want to critique the shot. I don't even want to critique the play. I just want to critique that maybe they would have wished they had that timeout back, looking back at it now. Because Coop doesn't make the shot. He misses the shot, and Houston gets the ball. There's 7 seconds left in this game still. And yet they're still not able to foul Houston until 3.7. You guys have Cooper Flagg on your team. You have Con Knipple. If you're down 3 with, I don't know, 7 seconds left, I'm not saying you guys are like going to win as a for sure thing, but you're definitely not going to lose either. I still think you guys got a really good fighting chance.
Any little more time in that for sure helps. Yeah.
So I thought that was just a major mistake. That like, I don't know how else to critique it. As like the miss happened, they was almost like the game was over, and it's like, no, man, you guys could have played this on. Coop could have done that same shot 10 seconds later and maybe won again. Like this just felt like the second that shot left and it didn't go in, that it ended. Like that was it. Wrap it up. Gave up. And I didn't like that either. I thought that was kind of hard because again, I would have liked to see Coop get an actual shot in, because fast forward, Houston gets those 2 free throws. There's 3.7 left now, and Duke is baseball passing this thing in like a Christian Laettner thing. And I don't know, 3.7. I think a guy fast enough can get over half court and get a 3-point shot off way better than this baseball play.
I think maybe you used to, but now with the way that they foul, like if we are just dribbling it up and they foul like at half court, like now there's not enough time. I think the fouling up 3 popularity has made it like you have to like take that into account, and then throwing in the baseball pass. Now it's okay. Someone's getting the ball at least in 3-point range. a ref isn't going to call it probably from half court, and unless it's like egregious, like a tackle. But if it's now it's down at the other end, I think that the ref will take it more seriously that it was shooting and not on the floor.
All fair. I would have liked to have seen a chance for this game to end and not just like a semantics of ran out of time. Like a shot get up maybe would have been a little bit more
Yeah.
fitting, right? Like this just last play doesn't even happen. We talked about Houston in the championship game of just they didn't even hit a makeable shot in the last whatever. Like this is the same thing with Duke where they get one field goal from the last 10:30 of this entire game. How is that ever going to happen again? That doesn't make any sense. That didn't happen all year. That's a complete fluke.
Yep.
Couple
Terrible time to have that happen.
couple of other things that don't really make sense. Malawak, do you know how many rebounds he had in that game?
He didn't have any.
He didn't have any. And I want to give credit to Houston. I don't want to like just completely say it's all on him. That's just Houston keeping him off the boards. I think he deserves some credit too, but zero, man. Like you are.
You would think you're 7 feet tall just by accident.
Yeah.
Couple go your way.
Last little thing
Although
here.
in general, he is not like a prolific rebounder right now, despite like his height. Like that was definitely a conversation where, especially if you're just like looking at the box score and going, like he played like a full like amount of a game and like 7 foot, only 4 rebounds. Like he wasn't a guy putting up double doubles as maybe some of the other Duke big men that have come through have been doing.
All right, lastly, and I've heard everybody talk about this, and I don't think it's really. I think I've made fun of you for this the entire year, but I actually kind of on your side with it. But do you wish Duke had played more close games this year, and that maybe this wouldn't have happened?
I mean, I would like for the ACC to be better because then it just kind of comes down and the Sampson afterwards, the Houston coach says like, oh, well, we didn't play in like the little baby league. Like we played in the really tough league. So it's totally different. And it's like, okay, well then you got beat by the SEC. So, okay. So that would have been, I think would have just helped. I think we would have helped the whole team, but I don't think like we played some close games at the beginning. And I think having that amount of talent on the team, like you can run tough practices and just, it just didn't work out for us. Did you like the play call for that Coop was the guy to take the shot at the end?
Yeah, I even thought the shot he got off was fine. I think for the way Houston plays defense, you kind of almost benefited of being like, you're just going to have to worry about this one guy. And it was kind of a bailout to them to some degree of like they only had to worry about the one guy. But if I'm Duke,
but the one guy is pretty good.
I don't want anyone else to have this thing. All right, I want him to do it. I already said of like everything that's already happened makes even more sense. Of like we're not even going to run anything. We're not even going to have a scenario where this guy doesn't get the ball in this possession. We're just going to have a possession where he gets the ball. And maybe they've done that like 4 more times in the last 4 possessions. This game goes completely differently. It's fine. We're at a complete panic at this point. I still think that's our best guy and our best chance. Maybe they could have drew up a clever play. Maybe Sampson would have done that on Houston, but he doesn't have Cooper Flag on Houston.
He's that Cooper Flag.
I don't think the close game things.
That was one of the things that I was seeing from more and more of the Duke fans saying, why did Shire have Coop running the last play? Everybody everywhere knew that Coop was getting the ball, and my thought is this isn't awesome. If you have some surprise play that works, cool. But you know what? It usually works even better is having your best player like go to work, and it didn't work. It didn't work this year. Coop had 3 opportunities, went 0 for 3. If he doesn't, the conversation is different. I don't think it hurts his NBA draft stock. I don't think it really it hurt for sure. The missing this one changes how he's talked about. I was hoping he's going to be in the Anthony Davis, Carmelo Anthony situation, but now he's he's going to always be a step below that.
It won't matter for the NBA. And maybe in college, sure, your rankings of that, he might be a step below it. But
yeah, so
his future
when he goes to the NBA and the Hornets fans, or maybe the Hornets, I don't know, that's North Carolina. But let's say he goes to the Wizards and he's good. Like that's not going to get brought up in NBA circles, but that'll be something. This is a game. This is going to take forever. Like it reminds me of it's not exactly the same, but like the helmet catch of just like one lineman when defensive guy just gets a hand better on him, like he gets thrown down like a little bit harder and the ball falls. Like we just went through it beat by beat in painstaking detail. It's just like one of those things. Like you said, Coop just locks him up. It doesn't go for the fake. Somebody boxes that guy out. Proctor makes just the front end of the free throw. It's just like any one of those things just has to slightly change, and we'd be playing last night, and just you run through your head just over and over again, and it's just gonna continue to happen.
It was an incredible season. I still think you should be happy that you got to watch a Cooper Flag season for Duke. It was unlike most seasons, man. Like this is just never going to happen all the time where you get to see your team in the Final Four. Has this possibly scared you from attending with your team there now, though, where this is like, I imagine you knew this was an outcome when you were there, but how much did you actually prepare for it?
I think it was and especially it was, it's all number ones. So, and even when it's not, like you see, weird stuff can happen in basketball. But well, yeah, it was definitely tough going in as the favorite, and it's yeah that's what I keep coming back to, that it's like that up 6 with 30 seconds to go of like, this is like, we're good, like we're just gonna make our free throws, and like we're good, like we're in a great situation right here, and like looking to Monday and having it snatched away. Where if Houston had come out and it was like a back and forth game and like they had won, but it wasn't until the end that it was like, okay, this game has been decided. It seemed like it was decided for Duke with like 30 seconds to go, and then it was just meltdown city. And so I think that's what makes it just even worse. But I would say, like I said, this is my third Final Four. Going when your team is in the mix was still a bunch of fun. You still have the whole week leading up after the Elite Eight game to just kind of like marinate in it, if you will. And then Friday they have the practices. Your logo is on all of the Final Four logos. It's all over. There's your team's fans are everywhere. All Saturday, because the game isn't until late at night. So it's like I had 2 pretty much full days of just like celebrating, being in the, sneaking into the Duke section. That was really cool, having not been to Cameron before, where, it's one thing to be at MSG or even when I went to the Prudential Center, where it's very heavily Duke fans up here in the New York area. But, being in the football stadium all the way. And yeah, I think it just going in, if the expectations were, maybe like last year's team, where it was like, ugh, we were decent team on the lower end for Duke season, but make the Final Four is cool, but going there's like, this doesn't look good. But when I left on Thursday with the thought being, we got the best player there. We've got the, all the metrics say we're the best. We're the betting favorite. Like there's a really good chance I could be coming back, national champion, doing all the things, supporting the team the whole way through. And so with it just being taken away is what it feels like in that last 30 seconds is just brutal.
Yeah, that's hard. I still think you saw some
Like
really good games. If you just take away that it was Duke and just say, hey, I was in attendance for this wild sports moment that is going to be in history. Like, it's not fun history, but it's going to be like, this is a big deal.
Each of the 3 games, the team that was leading at half ended up losing. So that's unusual right there. But I mean, there's this type of game that it ended, and then I just sat there. Like I just sat there in disbelief. And the only reason that I left was because so many of the other Duke fans had left, and Houston was diagonally across the way, just like going absolutely nuts. But if it had been a home game or the Houston fans weren't celebrating so much, I probably would have sat there until he kicked me out, or just like trying to replay it or trying to see, you have that sports brain thing of like, how can I go back in time and just fix like one of these things? Just one. We make one free throw. It's totally different.
Yeah, what's
the whole game? The whole season's different.
What's the video game where you have like the save points? Can I just save it? I just want to go back to this. Like, I won't even change anything else. We'll just go back to 30 seconds. Like,
just go back to the under 4 timeout. Let me bottle up that nice energy that I had, and let's just try to go again. Because I think it's like Duke wins that 9 out of 10 times, and this was the one time where everything, the wheels fell off and just didn't work.
I see. That's why I don't think that close game thing has a lot to do with it. I think this was a really good Duke team. Like, I think if anything, this should just warn everybody that any of this kind of stuff can happen to anyone. Because I still am with you that I think this was still a really, really good Duke team that was capable of beating any team in the country. And this catastrophic ending could happen to anyone, even this team.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Uh,
Have you taken a peek at the way too early AP rankings?
I don't even want to talk about next year before we talk about at least Auburn a little bit because it seems rude. All right, this is a Final Four team. They didn't win. They lost to Florida. I thought Florida's bigs really gave Rube a hard time and gave Auburn in general just a tough defensive performance. What do you got about Auburn, man? I think this was the dominant team of this whole year. Definitely not super hot going in the SEC tournament. Again, losing, not winning and letting Florida win the SEC tournament. This is kind of a rough ending, but maybe still a very successful season. I mean, how should they feel?
I mean, they're definitely going to be disappointed. You're the number one team in the AP poll for the majority of the season, and they were tripped up at the end of the year. The SEC tournament didn't really go their way, but it seemed like they kind of got their groove back a little bit in the tournament. Broome seemed to be kind of playing through the injury, but I think that was kind of holding them back and just didn't quite get as much help. But it wasn't like this was a blowout. They're up at the half, looking good. The start of this game, there were so many points. It was just back and forth. It was a very exciting game. And then even the final score, it's they lose by 6. I mean, that's the single digits. You're right in the mix there. Just didn't have it in the second half, especially coming out at halftime. Just kind of didn't fall apart, but just didn't have enough of the offensive firepower that they'd have.
I don't think they should be ashamed of not being the better team and the team that ended up winning it all anyways. I think they were right there. Like you said, there's probably a scenario where they maybe win this. They're maybe a little bit closer in this. There's probably other outcomes of this. The game's just not as much of a storyline compared to the other two, of which there's like a million things that have just gone another way. We get a completely different outcome. This was one where it's like, oh, I think this is the outcome we probably get most of the time, where it's a little tight and they're just a little bit better.
What I'd like to mention, do you remember the two scandals, the two separate scandals with these two teams at the beginning of the year?
No. Oh, was it the coach firing?
No. So do you want to know the Florida one first or the Auburn one first?
Well, let's stick with Auburn, and then we'll wrap up with Florida and talk about the future.
Auburn in November, they were going to play Houston. On their flight, the team got in a fight, and so bad. Not rumors. The fight was so bad they had to emergency land the plane. I think they had to send a guy home. Then they beat Houston, and it's November, so very few people are even really paying attention. No one knew Auburn was going to be this good this year, or even so, it's November. It's college basketball. Everyone's still focused on, no one's even thinking about NBA basketball, let alone college basketball. It's all football all over the place, college and pros. Yeah. Quite on the plane, and had to do an emergency landing, still making it to the Final Four.
That's wild. I don't think that happened to other teams, and I'm sure it's happened before. It's also one of those things, though, that maybe you needed it to happen. This Lord of the Flies sort of thing of just letting it all play out, and maybe we all kind of come together eventually at the end here. Or maybe that's what was boiling over the whole season, and finally we got towards the end of it, and it was like, this is just too much uncomfortableness. We haven't overcome this. I don't know. I thought the team was pretty good. I thought they played pretty good. I liked their odds going in. I think I saw some uglier blemishes on Florida throughout the entire year. You're about to tell me one of them, but I mean, they had some terrible losses where they got blown out too. I don't think Auburn looked that bad until the very, very end here. So it's hard to really go back and say, like, yeah, this team wasn't good enough based on looking better than every other team this entire season.
They're right in the mix. I mean, that's, we were talking about it last week of, you get all the number ones. To be a number one seed, you have to be really good all year, and then to make it all the way through the tournament. I mean, there's a reason that it's only happened one other time before this year, because just because you're the top 4, there's not always a big difference, and weird things sometimes happen not in the Final Four. It happens earlier on. I mean, we saw it with Houston. We saw it with Florida, where they were in some real dangerous situations and were able to pull themselves out.
All right, what happened to Florida earlier in the year?
The coach Todd Golden had to get investigated for possibly stalking co-eds. That was also in November. He's since been cleared, but it was multiple accusers. So it was interesting because it seemed like he was sliding into some DMs, which if you're the police, it's not illegal, but one of those like, well, you're the basketball coach at a college, like that's not the best. So the investigation, I think, kind of got wrapped up, but it'll be something interesting to see kind of going forward. There are other problems going on here, but you know what? Championship helps to kind of push that thing into the back.
Hey, youngest coach, a long time getting a win here.
The youngest since Valvano.
That's worth mentioning. It's a fun name to be with.
Yep.
There's a scenario.
Third year. So Shire's third year, his third year. No, very, very impressive to be doing this, this young, especially at Florida, which, really more of a football school.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think the best case scenario is here? I mean, can this guy go like a Coach K length? Is this a possibility? I mean, we're starting off with a controversial story, so it doesn't sound like that. But now that you've won and you're this age,
and like I said, there was an investigation, and it just like I said, it was November, so I kind of came across it, said, "Oh, well, this is weird. We'll see how this kind of turns out," and then it just kind of went away. And then I've heard more recently that it got reviewed, got tossed out. But I don't see any reason, if he wants to. It'll be interesting with all these changes recently. If a young coach coming in now, we've lost, especially in the ACC, lost a lot of the older coaches that probably when they came in, there were some major changes. And this might be the perfect timing for him to come in to going, sweet, my whole career has been NIL. I don't have this attitude of, oh, this is so hard. You have to get money, and then you have to make sure everybody's happy, and you have to recruit your own players, and all the whining that some of the older coaches are doing, and him just coming in and going, no, this is just what you have to do. Like, all right, let's go.
It's going to be interesting seeing everything going forward. NIL will get more, I don't know, controversy around it. There'll be more drama. There's going to be more storylines.
No, what's going to be bigger? It's actively in court right now, and I thought it was already kind of a done deal. But next year, it seems like it's going to be that the schools will be able to directly pay the players.
Does that make more sense or less sense?
I don't think it's a more or less. I think the players should be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness, and I think that the schools should be paying them. How that works, I'm not all the way sure, but I'm thinking some sort of revenue sharing.
That seems fair. It also seems like we're getting closer to a collective bargaining agreement, does it not?
Well, that's the thing, is you have to have a collective bargaining agreement. So like the NBA has the NBA Players Association. They're the ones that negotiate on behalf of the players, where in college, they don't have that because they're not considered employees right now. If you're getting paid by the university, now that might change. But also in the NBA, there are 30 teams. There's 10x that. So let's say 10x that amount of players. So it's just a huge group. So I wonder if there'll be more each individual conference. Actually, no, it's going to be even more. I'm just thinking basketball. This could be all the sports. So yeah, that would be interesting if it was. I'm thinking that maybe it would be each conference by sport. So like the SEC Football Players Association, and there'd be the SEC Basketball Players Association, something like that.
You got any interest in running this? You want to represent the players?
I'm not much of a lawyer.
No. That's not the college future I really wanted to get into, but it will be something we'll be continuing to talk about. Let's talk about changes we would make with the tournament, because it wasn't perfect.
Tournament was bad this year.
What disappointed you the most?
That's okay. I didn't mind the chalkiness, but there were very few close games. We had one buzzer beater, but there really wasn't a lot of close games, especially early on. And that just happens sometimes. It doesn't mean we need to make drastic changes within the tournament or get crazy with that. I just want to just kind of put out, just wasn't a very compelling tournament. What we need to change is the reviews at the end
Well,
of the game.
hold on. That's what I wanted to bring up, and I'm glad you brought up not having close games. How could we be so upset with all of the reviews that we've had and also still not get the reward of having close games? How did we get the punishment of reviews that didn't matter, is what I'm asking.
It's because of gambling, so you have to make sure to get it right. But this whole thing that under 2 minutes, if you as a coach just don't like the call, that you can just twirl your fingers and then the referees have to go look. It's crazy because as a coach, I totally get it. Your job is to win games. Here's a chance, even if it's a 2% chance, but maybe they'll reverse the call and then maybe it'll be your ball. And while you get that, review, now you have an extra timeout with your players to say, okay, it's definitely not going to be our ball, but here's the defense we're going to run. Here's the next play. And sometimes teams don't have a timeout, and now they're getting this extra timeout. It kills the flow of the game. It kills it. And now you're right down the stretch. It's the under 2 minutes. This is the most exciting part of the game. It's coming down to crunch time. And now we have to review for 6 minutes. The guy that knocked it out, did it touch the other guy's fingernail, but a tiny, tiny little bit? I don't know if the answer is the NBA model. I'm thinking closer towards maybe under 4 minutes. Each coach gets a challenge. Maybe NFL model where it's like if you win one challenge, you can have a second. Besides that, it makes no sense that a call in the first half, the referee is allowed. Like, we trust your judgment. You are going to make this call, but then under 2 minutes, now all of a sudden we're going to just pause the game. And a lot of times, not even going to commercial. And to double down, this is just my recent experience. They're not necessarily the best at showing the replays in the arena. So if you're at home in front of the TV, it's annoying. If you actually paid money to travel, to go, everything, and now you're having a worse experience, it's gotta be changed. I don't know anyone that's enjoying this. It's just a matter of somebody figuring out, okay, even if it's not perfect, just making it better. Like the whole twirling your finger under 2 minutes every time the ball went out of bounds was very frustrating this year.
You've said the thing, flow of the game. Now, the basketball game over the past couple of decades has made changes to help the flow of the game. I think lowering the shot clock was one of them. I think adding a half-court violation was one of them. We have made changes before to help the flow of the game. I think we have to do something like that now.
No hand checking.
We have to do something like that now with these reviews, where we can't waste this much time anymore. I don't know if it's. I'm willing to almost just say we need to put a shot clock on the reviews themselves, where we can only spend a minute on this. Like, I'm willing to just say whatever we come up with in this 30 seconds is the decision that we're going with. I'm not going to look at this a million more times and try to get a different decision. It's not benefiting anyone. I'd rather just have a quick call and just keep it moving. The other thing I could do is, if you want to take more time on it, let's just allot each team. You get 5 minutes of reviews, and that means they could spend as much time on the one review, or they can review 5 of them quickly. But you get 5 minutes throughout the entire game. That's the only amount of time each team can stop this from going on anymore. And that's it. We don't do any more. There's no 2 minutes under all that. It's if you want to if you want to review it, take it out of your 5 minutes, however fast the refs can do it. Ideally, they would be doing it faster to begin with, because there's got to be a faster way. There was a faster way to play basketball. There's a faster way to make players move faster. There's got to be a way to make refs move faster. We got to start holding them to a faster standard, just like we held the players years ago when it wasn't as exciting.
You have to, for D1. I mean, the rules have to be the same for everyone. So that's what makes this a little different from the NFL, where all the teams are equal, have the same money and everything. But it just kind of goes back to that, the ref, the ref in the sky, the eye in the sky. Because when you're watching TV, sometimes this is so obvious. It's like, okay, yep, we saw it. Maybe you couldn't see it, on the floor. You got blocked or something. But if there was a person there, I don't know if that's feasible for all D1 games. I don't know if maybe you can make it just like a tournament rule. Like, could that make it faster? But it's just, or I don't know if there's some sort of rule, and maybe I don't know if the gambling will allow this. But some of the times it's, well, we're looking at it. Nope, was definitely off on white. Call confirmed. Well, now we're going to check the clock. and then it's extra time to check the clock to then add zero point 0.2 seconds. And it's, like there's a minute 56 left. It's like, this did not impact the game at all. But now we're sitting there, and then it's frustrated me so much that, especially if it's a game that I'm, that Duke's not playing in, and it's not like a, obviously, like a tournament game. It's just, if you're going to review it, you take your time to review it. You're not wasting my time. I'm not changing the channel, but I'm going to mute it. I'm going to watch something else, or I'm going to, look at something else. And then I've sometimes missed it because I got distracted doing something else, and I look up, I was like, well, yeah, well, I missed that. I think we talked about this the last pod or one before. Of it used to be when there was a review, it really meant something. You were really interested to see, okay, who would exactly go off of? Okay, there's gonna be a big call. This happens so frequently that I don't care. Just make the call. Let's keep this moving.
Another real change I got problems with. It's not just the reviews; it's certain things that they're reviewing. The possibly a flagrant review. I don't know. The bar's got to be raised for us to go look at it. Is all I'm saying. There's too many times like, oh no, two big guys playing basketball hit each other. Let's go take a look at it. Like, do you think that there's a better judgment on that? Because it seems like anytime there's contact, which isn't a foreign thing of basketball, there's certainly aggressive and dirty plays that'll happen, and I think those will be obvious for themselves. But too often or not, I'm seeing we're going to go look because somebody fell hard.
Anytime someone gets hit anywhere near the face, all right, let's look into this. I mean, I get you don't want to have dangerous plays, but
how many of those do you think they get right, though? How many of those would we actually be like, oh, yeah, all right, the elbow hit him in the nose, really, really hurt. And it was like, well, elbows are right around where you're playing basketball, and they're right around the guy's face where he's trying to defend and stop or do whatever you're trying to do. It's not foreign.
Yeah, it kind of has to be. Sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they don't. Okay, if you're doing a basketball play, maybe it's still a foul, but we don't need to go to the flagrant route where it's in the rules, but it's hard to judge intent sometimes. But I agree with you that basketball is a contact sport. You are going to get hit. It's unfortunate, sure, but it's kind of going to even out, I think.
You know what else? Reviewing it doesn't really prevent people from doing it either, because you're not
doing it on purpose. You're just playing basketball.
Yeah, it's still happening. Like the idea that we're going to review all this and that there's going to be somehow like an education of like where to put your elbows. It's not working. All right. Other rule change I got nitpicks with is when a player fouls and say it's a bad call, or say maybe it's even turned into a flagrant. That flagrant then counts towards their foul total. Do we like that? And as well as the technical, I believe, counts towards their foul total as well. So I've seen multiple situations where I didn't even think it was that hard of a play, and then the guy gets one foul, and then he gets the flagrant foul because they thought it was aggressive, and then he fouled out of the game. And I saw another one where there was a bad foul, and the guy had the right to be upset, and he argued with the ref. He received a technical, and then he fouled out of that game because of the technical. So it was like he got double punished on a play that probably wasn't even his fault. Should we re-examine this? Because this doesn't happen in the NBA where these flagrants and these technicals count towards your foul totals.
I don't think it comes up very often enough for it to concern me, and I think that they want you to be punished. So I'm fine with it being different than the NBA level.
Can we at least change it in the tournament? Can it just be that? Can we just?
I don't think you can. I don't think you can like change rules at the end.
It's like the NFL overtime. It's just slightly different in the playoffs. It's just slightly different in the tournament. We're gonna let flagrants and technical fouls just be separate, and they will go. So they'll be fines to your NIL money. I don't know, like just something else that doesn't affect the game.
I think it'd be tough to pull off the optics of that, because I was thinking that of, hey, if they're getting paid, could there be a fine? But I mean, I guess in the NFL, you're fined at the same level, and some guys are making way more than others. But I'm just imagining, Coop gets a fine for a flagrant one, and pay the fine, but somebody from Incarnate Word gets a flagrant, and now he like has to just quit basketball because he can't afford to pay it.
He's got to drop out of school. He can't. He needs another job.
Yeah, he's got to go into hiding because he can't afford a $10,000 fine.
All right, that's all my college nitpicks. It was still a fun year. There's a lot of good teams. This transfer portal thing will be a storyline that we'll continue to talk about. So I don't think college basketball is quite entirely in the rearview mirror. But a quick shout out to Garrett for winning our Little of Column A, Little of Column B podcast bracket challenge. The t-shirt is already on his way, and he has received his $150 Amazon gift card. Shout out to everybody who signed up, and don't be afraid to subscribe. Little of Column A, Little of Column B podcast. You can reach us on our Instagram, on our Facebook, LCA LCB podcast, and you can follow Zach on his X account, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
shout out to our sponsor as well, right? What do you want to do with that?
Oh yeah, that's why it's 150 and not 100, because we have a wealthy sponsor that is a fan of the pod. He likes basketball, so wanted to sweeten it up a little bit so more people would be interested.
You're right, 10 years. That's the 10th one, man.
Wow, man, look at us go. That's a decade.
That's a long time. That's a lot of brackets. And we didn't, the thing is it's 10 years, but there's not 10 brackets because we have the pandemic year. That's weird math. That's never going to make
sad.
sense.
That's a sad one.
That's a sad one. All right, anything else for college basketball, man?
Duke's got the Boozer twins coming in. They just won the high school state championship. I watched a little bit of that. So interesting because the portal is still pretty new. So just kind of figuring all that out. There's already been a lot of movement in and out, but just kind of like for individual teams, just going to be interesting of, is there going to be any sort of more stability, or is it going to continue of less and less stability? So interested to see how that goes over the summer.
All right, let's move on to a little NBA conversation where there was some breaking news today where another head coach was fired. And you would think there's only 4 games left in the season. It must be a team that's terrible, right? Was that not your first thought? It has to be. Who would do this? There's only 4 games in there. And then you find out it's the Denver Nuggets, who have won a championship before, who have a multiple-time MVP on their team, and arguably the best player currently playing in the world on their team, decides to fire their coach 4 games before the season ends, as well as their GM. Why, do you ask? Because they don't get along. Zach, who is this benefiting? Why are we doing this now? Are they just packing up the rest of this year and getting a head start on getting someone for next year?
I was surprised at the Grizzlies one last week, and now this is a week later, and you just mentioned Malone won a championship like a couple of years ago, and I saw a crazy kind of list, and it had a whole bunch of guys recently that had either won Coach of the Year or won a championship, that it's like within the next 2 or 3 years, like they're gone. It's just like, all right, I guess, sometimes you got to make changes, but it's not like Malone's only been there for a little bit. We were just talking about, this was the, almost like the 10th bracket, COVID and all that. Well, that's when Malone started in Denver, the 2015-2016 season. So he's been there like a good amount of time. So to fire him right before the playoffs, I just have to imagine, and maybe it's, hey, you know what? These coaches are getting millions of dollars. This is just, you have to deal with this. But just thinking, you really are thinking, and it's almost the same thing we were talking about with Memphis, of you think you are better off having the assistant coaches coach this playoff run than having the guy that's been your head coach for 10 years, has led you to a championship. And like, it just seems like it's all bad press. Like the next coach coming in going, oh, well, they might fire me before I even make it to the playoffs.
You'd think you'd be safe too. Well, things haven't gone well. We're arguing. I'm sure there's arguing in every organization, but I'm sure every organization is happy to have the coach they had at the beginning of the year going into the playoffs. I don't see that as like, oh no, like Steve Kerr, we should really get rid of that guy now. Like, what are we talking about?
They only have 3 games left. They are in the 4th spot, meaning they're going to host home playoff games with the expectation being, okay, a little more 50-50 at the 4-5 matchup, but only 1.5 games behind the Lakers. I mean, with only 3 games, it's unlikely to happen. I mean, on the bad side, they're only a half game ahead of possibly falling all the way to the 8th seed. But it doesn't seem like getting rid of your head coach at this point would really be the right move. I mean, I get, like, 4-game losing streak isn't good, but that's not some sort of epic collapse. You have to fire the coach in April. I mean, when was the last time we had multiple playoff coaches fired in April? It's probably
Never,
never happened.
never. I
Must have,
never.
yeah.
Who would do that? Why? What would? It's like
I was again. What is the advantage? Like now you're the first one to be able to hire the next coach. Well, hold on. Are you going to hire a coach before your season's over?
Well, I actually think that is the only little bit of an advantage of all of this is because I've seen this process before where they clean house, where they get rid of the GM and the coach. And the move is generally you interview a bunch of GMs, and that takes time. And you might not even get the guy you like, and you make an offer and eventually come to a deal. And then that guy's job is to hire the coach. And then they interview, and that takes time. And then they might not even get the guy they wanted and make a deal. And so, like, the idea that takes time and you wait till the end of the year to start all of that, I understand getting a little bit of a head start because this team has not drafted well. They have not done free agency well. And you know, this window might be closing. So this is going to need an entirely new look, and getting started on it now, I guess, just more or less admits that regardless of what Malone did this year, he was going to get fired is what this tells me. I think he could have won the championship and he would have gotten fired. That's basically what this is saying. Is that we just couldn't make this work anymore, that we're willing to just punt a year of which we are a 4 seed in the West. That's ludicrous to throw away a year. This is a season. You play 80 games. 80 games. This is like throwing away 80 games. It's the most exhausting season other than baseball. And we're just like, nah, you know what? That was all a waste. None of that was
we're
worth
good.
it.
Yeah, we're good.
That's wild.
I mean, I guess it's earlier, and now you can be a little more transparent with guys that aren't coaching right now that you're interested in hiring. But I don't know. It still seems like you could do back channels of that if it was even like an open secret, and still just had the coach go, "Hey, let's see, maybe we can go on a run." Or is it some sort of self sabotage of like, "Hey, we really want to go a different direction, so we'll get rid of the head coach." Then when we flame out, say, "Oh no, see, team wasn't good. We need to go a different direction."
What if it works?
This team is locked
is there a
in.
scenario that they work? Like, what if this works? What if this team comes out and they actually play better? Because they are good. I'm not saying they can't win the championship, but I don't think they had their best season this year. And I don't think this is their best roster this year. So there's weaknesses, but they're not out of it. Like, there's still a chance that this team could win, even with all of this. Like, are we saying there's a 0 chance now?
I don't think that there's 0 chance.
All right. So, like, there's still a chance this could work, is what I'm saying.
I think so.
So the window's not closed. Like, this is like, what would it be shocking if they were out in the first round? They'd say they fall away to the 8th seed or something just completely terrible happens. What if Jokic in the offseason's like, I'm out, like I'm done? Like, what if he could just retire if he didn't want to deal with this? This seems like a terrible thing to be going through if I'm Jokic in the prime of my life, where I just lost my GM, my coach. We can't keep any of the past guys. The guys we're drafting aren't ready, and I'm awesome. I'm ready to roll, and no one else is ready to roll with me.
Do you know why he's not going to retire?
No,
because he gets $55 million next year. The year after that, he gets $59 million. And the year after that, it's just short of $63 million. Yeah, I think he's going to stick around.
All right, well, maybe he doesn't have to stick around in Denver for that, because this is nonsense. This is not the organization and the professionalism that type of player should ever receive. Can you think of anyone else that would go through this?
Is this not what Giannis is going through right now?
A little bit. I'd like to think they actually made some moves. I mean, they haven't worked out.
But I mean, Denver did make moves. Like I said, this team is locked in for the next two years. You got Joker, you have Jamal Murray, you have Michael Porter Jr., and you have Aaron Gordon. So like that's the core. Whether that core is good enough or not, but when you have that much money, like there's not much left for other guys, especially with the the new CBA and everything. So I think you can get a new GM in there, but I don't think that anyone is going to give you plus money for Jamal Murray, and for sure not for Michael Porter Jr. You kind of had to do that deal at the time, but it's for sure, it still looks like an overpay.
It is funny to say that we're going to hire somebody to move a bunch of puzzle pieces that can't be moved.
Well, I shouldn't say they can't be moved. I'm saying it's going to be difficult, and I don't think that there's some sort of like quick fix. Like, this is going to be very difficult to do.
Well,
and I don't know if it's instant, or is this the start of, hey, we're going to get out of the, we just saw what Dallas did. Defense wins championships. Maybe they're going to follow in line, and they're going to, get rid of Joker and bring in Rudy Gobert.
That'd be fun for Ant, and I don't do that. That's it could happen.
I mean, I'm just trying to, think what else. Everybody gets look at it and go, oh, this isn't working.
Well,
Okay. Well, a portion of this did work a couple of years ago for sure. Like some of the guys lower down, it'd be nice if you could draft a little bit better. But I mean, that's really hard when you're not getting lottery talent. You're getting late first round picks, and it's really hard to get those guys. It's even harder to develop them in a timely manner. But I don't think you're at the 4 seed just means you should blow it up. When you're constantly, the Bulls in the play-in game, that's when, okay, guys, we gotta move this around. But when you're hosting home playoff games, like you're making extra money, that's exactly, maybe not exactly where you want to be, but you're in the mix. That's where a lot of teams would love to be.
is this kind of like the Celtics firing everybody next year after we don't win a championship this year? I guess it doesn't seem that other than there's already been some controversy behind the scenes. I think we've already known the GM and the coach weren't always best friends. That's probably not the only relationships that's like that throughout the league. So not entirely all that, but I do think we've had Malone being fairly critical of players in the post game, very very vocally. Not a favorite thing, but at the same time, if you watch the games and tell me you're not on Malone's side. Like you're a basketball fan, watch the games. And now you might not agree in the way he went about it of being very direct and basically calling players soft, but watch the game and tell me where he's
But
wrong.
and I think there's a good way of doing that, and there's like a not so good way of doing that. And so maybe it's the wrong players, but I feel like, you know, Ime Udoka does it, and it's like, oh, look at this guy holding his guys accountable. Like, oh yeah, like he really means business. Now, for sure, Rockets are a much younger team, so the type of person you need might be different. But I I don't feel like when I saw the comments, it was earth shattering. Just like, oh wow, really went scorched earth on his team. It just nope. This all seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Lastly, for NBA, I just wanted to quickly mention this. I don't want to spend too much time on it, although this is going to be hard once I put this GD's not going to get back in the bottle. But the Draymond Green media run for Defensive Player of the Year, I've never seen a campaign quite like it. This just seems I don't even want to compare this to any politician, but it just seems like it's a little too late of a run, and it seems so obvious to me. I can't believe that people are actually falling for this, and that there's a possibility that they're going to give Draymond Green Defensive Player of the Year for this year for what, the last 3 weeks? Not even like it's the last 2 weeks. This is ridiculous momentum. Draymond's won before. Draymond's won championships. Draymond's done a lot of other things on the side that don't make him very likable, but he's a smart defensive player. I'm not trying to take that away from him, but this is crazy to me to think that he should even receive a single vote. Not even one vote is coming from me. Is that insane?
I think it's reasonable. Of yep, had the has the legacy, and you want to talk about the all defensive team. Is that on the table? Okay, you can put that in the mix. But to be the defensive player of the year, that just seems like, well, we don't have a really good idea, so he's just infusing this, into the ether. Is like, okay, I mean, if you guys want to do this, but you're going to look back at this in a very soon and say this was really silly.
It just seems silly to think that just because we don't have a dominant defensive player that we're just going to take the most vocal one. Like the guy that
Yeah,
just demanded it the most was like, oh, no, it should be me. It's like, our eyes just not working anymore? We're just reading campaign slogans now? Like this can't happen. I refuse to let it happen. I hope Jaren Jackson Jr. I think is a safer bet. I wouldn't be mad with Lou Dort. I don't even care if Dyson Daniels gets a couple votes. I think that's fair. Evan Mobley, fine. Even Zubac, I'll give a couple attentions to because that Clippers team is really reliable on what they need him to do. So there's just better options for me than Draymond Green, and it seems like I'm trying to be a hater of just saying, you're just not really watching the difference that Draymond makes. I understand the difference he makes. He hasn't been as dominant on it this year, and I'm not going to reward him for it. That team also struggled throughout this entire year. What about all those losses they had earlier? We can't talk about those.
I, I yeah,
Yeah,
I'm totally on board with this, but I'm pretty biased on
Yeah, I know. Me too.
where
La-
anytime he's mentioning things, he's just trying to get mentioned, and so I try to go out of my way to not mention it.
I just can't believe it. It feels like it's working a little bit. Like this has actually gained enough momentum that I had to say something today. Like I just thought it was laughable hearing about it. It was like, all right, yeah, that's not shocking that a guy that's been a media face and is going to work in media and has a future in media being in the media doing things that could benefit him long term. It just seemed silly to me that everyone else was buying it though. Like that seems not for me. Any other NBA stuff you want to get to? Do we want to talk about how threatening the Lakers look? That this was a very dominant win against OKC where Reeves and Luka were just
Toasted 'em.
making shots, just making tough shots.
Toasted them. We're getting towards the end of the year. It's definitely not nothing, but OKC had a 13 plus point lead. So I'm sure they're at, hey, let's just get ready for the playoffs. I mean, Celtics had an amazing March and looking like they're resting guy, two guys a night. So it's hard to really take any of the the NBA individual game by game performances too seriously.
I just thought the shot making just was incredible with Reeves and Luka. Luka specifically. I mean, it's hard to stop and it's hard to do. So there's gonna be a world where it's like, yeah, well, if we just all could play like Luka, wouldn't it just be easy? It's like it's just not easy. It seems threatening though, because I don't know how you would stop it. Like, I haven't seen anybody really figure out a good way other than wait a minute, who won the championship last year?
I believe it was the Boston Celtics.
Oh, all right,
team that I support that made it to the final and completed it and didn't leave me hanging like the other teams this year. I've been on a rough ride here.
So you wouldn't be encouraged at all of the possibility of maybe facing OKC in the finals and then watching OKC struggle against Luka. That would make you feel a little bit more confident as a Celtics fan, would it? Maybe just
old LeBron and Luka, and we could just attack him over and over again.
Well, I'm actually saying it's a little bit more of a fault on OKC, that maybe OKC's not as good as we thought, because we didn't really have a problem with Luka and LeBron.
I think that when, like I said, there's a regular season game. If they play in the playoffs, the prep for it is going to be totally different. And rather than just kind of playing a normal regular season game and you kind of roll the balls out there, it's going to be, okay, Shea, you dribble the ball at the top. Whoever Luka's guarding, you're going to go up, set a ball screen. Now Shea is switched on to Luka. Rinse and repeat over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, I'm not going to read up too much into it. I just wanted to have some fun with it. It was definitely a fun game and some ridiculous shot making. But I just started playing the music as we get out of here. Let's do a quick little recap on hockey. There is a new record-breaking goal scorer. Ovechkin has broken Gretzky's record for total career goals. Is this a situation where are people going to forget Gretzky, or are we just impossible? Is that silly to even recommend? It is kind of a different generation here, is what I'm saying. This is a long gap between.
His nickname is the great one. You're never gonna forget Wayne Gretzky. It's to be like saying, for basketball, like, oh well, it's been a while since Michael Jordan played. Are you gonna forget about him? It's like, no. He's cemented up there. He's gonna be just fine. But pretty impressive. Ovi was able to do it in the same, or beat the record with playing the same number of games. He's had some injuries. He's not the youngest, but I think one of the things that's cool is the Capitals are like they're good this year. It's not he's some old guy on some bad team just racking up some stats. It's okay. We need you to score because we need to win these games because we're looking to make a playoff run.
It's a lot of goals. It's a lot of goals, regardless of how you look at it. Regardless if you want to say there's more goals scored, faster game, whatever, different stuff. It's a lot of goals. It's a lot of goals. Next shout out.
Very impressive.
UConn women. Do we give an applause? I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant on UConn. I don't really hate UConn women. I guess they are a pretty respectable program. Shout out to Paige.
Dominant Final Four, dominant championship. The second time they beat South Carolina handedly. Just pretty impressive. A 2 seed that had to beat all of the other 1 seeds. So, when you do that, that's impressive.
All right, last question of the podcast. Would you rather Cooper Flagg get injured or have what actually happened happen?
What actually happened. Because I want to be all set for the NBA.
Completely meltdown for Duke. Would you rather have the meltdown or just win and Coop gets hurt and maybe something else happens in the championship?
No, I don't want Coop to get hurt.
See, that's what I thought. I knew that was going to be the answer. Someone else told me to ask you that on watching the final.
That's crazy. What? think I'm some sort of terrible person?
I'm just saying it was a really heartbreaking loss. Who would want to experience that? Versus like, a guy could have just rolled an ankle and missed the rest of the game, and it's like, well, we would have won with Coop.
That's loser. That's loser talk.
Yeah. All right, we'll be back next Monday. We're back to Mondays.
Back to Monday.
We'll be back next Monday. Make sure you subscribe. Little column A, little column B. You can reach us on our Instagram, on our Facebook, and you can follow Zach on his Twitter, which is
Wicked Z-Man 24.
We'll be back.
Little column A, little column B.